Support for this podcast comes from the St. Alphonsus Neuroscience Institute, offering technology to provide treatment for neurological, neurosurgical, and neurointerventional conditions. This includes a dedicated neurotrauma ICU for critical care of the brain or spine and a 24/7 stroke team. More at stalphonsus.org.
Start the new year with a commitment to independent journalism. When you become a supporter of Boise State Public Radio, you ensure deeper reporting, stronger investigations, and the trusted coverage you rely on every day.
I'm very grateful for all of the balanced reporting, and I will continue to be a sustaining member.
Your gift keeps fact-based news available to everyone in our region. Begin the new year by becoming a donor at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. We have all-important updates on flu and the measles in Idaho, and a big surprise regarding a change in leadership in the community of McCall. It is Wednesday, and it's the 14th of January. Here we go with today's stories. At the Capitol, we are learning Idaho tax collections are on the upswing after a bountiful return last month. But, as James Dawson reports, at least one key lawmaker wants to forge ahead with more budget cuts.
Corporate income tax collections in December completely rebounded after state officials projected budget deficits due to poor returns. Idaho has now collected about $100 million more in taxes than expected this fiscal year. Despite that, Republican Representative Josh Tanner, the new co-chair for the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, said the governor's proposed budget was too optimistic.
We should plan accordingly to a recession, and I don't think this budget actually went into some of the areas in a way to actually make sure that we were protecting ourselves if that's where we were actually going.
Governor Little's budget chief, Lori Wolf, says additional cuts are counterproductive after a certain point.
If we start cutting too deep into these budgets, we will not have the opportunity for continued growth and meeting some of the needs that we have around the state.
JFAC will begin diving into the numbers this morning. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
Idaho's law, which bans trans athletes from participating in sports that align with their gender identity, came before the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday. Arguments came down to whether the law violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Fourth Amendment, and arguments went for more than 3 hours. Justices acknowledged the difficulty of the case. Here was White House lawyer Hashim Mupan and Justices Neil Gorsuch and Justice Elena Kagan.
Well, it's not pseudo. It's good science.
It's not pseudoscience to say boys' brain development happens at a different stage than girls' does.
Well, with all respect, I don't think there's any science anywhere that has suggested that these sort of intellectual differences are traceable to biological differences, and I don't think the statute should be read to
With respect, I don't think you're a PhD in this stuff, and neither, I know I'm not.
A ruling will likely come in late June or early July when the High Court breaks for the summer. Unanimous opinions are usually released sooner than some of the more controversial opinions. That change from federal health officials regarding recommendations for a flu shot has a lot of people talking that while a lot of people are battling the flu. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has dropped that outright advice that kids should get an annual flu shot, but that change has come during what has become one of the worst flu seasons in years. The State Department of Health and Welfare has now updated its influenza surveillance map, a startling visual of the latest data. Flu is sweeping across much of Idaho, and in southern Idaho, which is to say everywhere from Valley County south to the border, flu is at its highest level. And now to measles, also with low vaccination rates. Measles outbreaks are ongoing in pockets of the Mountain West, as Yvette Fernandez reports.
2 years ago, by the end of 2024, there were 285 cases of measles and 16 outbreaks. Compare that to last year, and the picture was dramatically different. 2,144 cases and 49 outbreaks. Hundreds of those cases were in Mountain West states. Nicole Witt, the Assistant Director for Public Health Preparedness in Arizona, says the overwhelming majority of cases were among people not vaccinated.
9 out of 10 individuals exposed to a person with measles that are unvaccinated, will contract measles.
For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Yvette Fernandez.
At McCall City Hall.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear?
The swearings-in of re-elected City of McCall lawmakers Bob Giles, Lyle Nelson, and Julie Thrower.
And that you will faithfully discharge the duties of council member of the City of McCall.
I do.
The next order of business
is the election of mayor.
McCall Mayor Bob Giles. Now remember that the mayor is chosen by fellow council members in McCall. Bob Giles has been mayor there for 6 years.
I'm very interested in being considered for mayor and realize that we have some very difficult problems that we're starting to solve and would like to continue being involved in that.
But council member Colby Nielsen said he wanted to be mayor too.
I too am considered and interested in becoming mayor. Good time for me to pursue this in my personal and professional life.
So the other council members began to debate this. Here are council members Nelson and Thrower.
And I think Bob has done a phenomenal job.
I think it would be great to have someone else be mayor.
And then the vote.
Councilmember Thrower.
Yes.
You're hearing McCall City Clerk Bessie Jo Wagner there. So yes, ultimately, Mayor Bob Giles decided to join the majority and make it unanimous to make Colby Nielsen the new mayor of McCall.
Great. Well, we have a mayor.
And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice, and I really am highly suggesting that you sign up for our Legislative Roundup newsletter. It arrives in your inbox each week, and it brings you up to date on everything that's going on at the State House. You can sign up at boisestatepublicradio.org. For now, on this Wednesday, from me to you, thanks for listening.
Looking for another podcast to listen to? Check out The Nature of Idaho from our partner station KISU in Eastern Idaho. Join hosts Peter Pruitt and Dr. Leif Tapanilla as they share fascinating stories from the Gem State's great outdoors, celebrating Idaho's wildlife, landscape, and natural wonders. That's The Nature of Idaho from KISU. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.